Hey, what's up, Outkick fans? I'm Kurt Schilling. You know me as a three-time World Series champion. I'm joining Outkick to bring you a brand new baseball show where we talk about everything, but only baseball. And you should subscribe to the podcast on Outkick's YouTube and search for the podcast exclusively on Spotify.
As if the McCrispy couldn't get any better, Bacon and Ranch just entered the chat. The Bacon Ranch McCrispy, available at participating McDonald's for a limited time. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
The Purple Mafia, with your host, Paladino Joey.
Yeah, we'll see. The doctors would disagree, but what do they know?
So let's just say that you'll pay me because it's in your interest to pay me.
Is it worth it? I mean, you've won. Do you want to wipe everybody out?
I don't feel I have to wipe everybody out, Tom. Just my enemies. That's all. My father taught me many things. He taught me, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer.
These are wonderful things that we've achieved, and there's no limit to where we can go from here.
Welcome to the family here on Purple Mafia. It is Monday, November the 5th, 2012. This is episode number 125 of Purple Mafia. So now we're at 125. Yeah, another sort of milestone. It's kind of like a gold and silver, I guess you could say. Like gold 100 and silver 25. Yeah, well, it's something like that. So or platinum, silver, I guess, because maybe 50 is gold. I don't know, and 100 is platinum. Whatever, right? It doesn't really matter. There's a lot of people out there with like 300 episodes. Like Alex Raymer of Without a Curse. Holy cow. But anyhow, it's more like 500. But yeah, let's move on. Purple Mafia is available on thesportstuff.com and on iTunes. I thank each and every one of you always for downloading and listening to this show. It is a great pleasure to service your airwaves with Purple Mafia. I am, of course, your host, Joey Wygen, or Paladino Joey. Dylan Richardson was kind enough to introduce me way back at the beginning there. That was his voice. He is the executive producer of thesportstuff.com. So thank you always, Dylan Richardson, for helping make this show possible. Yeah, right now, oh man, I love these. I love this Mountain Dew Baja Mountain Dew, Baja Blast, whatever. Good stuff. I got it. I just went to Taco Bell just to get this. That's it. So I could have a little bit of energy to do the show. Obviously, you tend to record fairly late due to my schedule, but and I like the flavor too. It's interesting. You can only get it at one place, but yeah, we're gonna all need a little caffeine boost right now, aren't we? As Viking fans. I do appreciate those of you that did listen last show, though. I mean, the numbers were not bad considering the play of the team of late. So thanks again, guys out there that have listened. No call-ins this week. I thought Brent Jacobson was going to call in. Apparently changed his mind, but that's perfectly okay with me because it is the lawn cleanup season, unfortunately. But I'm still here. I'm still here, guys. I'm still your dedicated host of Purple Mafia. Oftentimes I tend to take a couple of shows off because of, unfortunately, bad timing because it's during the season, but I have a second job where it's a lawn service, do lawn cleanups for some extra money. And whether I like it or not is another story. It's just a matter of I have to do it. But, yeah, I tend to miss shows, but right now I'm not missing it, so I'm able to keep it going. So it's actually, I'm actually kind of glad nobody called in. And no, it's nothing against anybody. I appreciate all of you that do call in. It's just, it makes the show a little bit longer, and that's a good thing. I think it's more information, more fun. But I think for this show and the next, we'll just say I'm not going to take any calls for episode 126, which would be the Detroit game. For the Detroit game, I won't take calls for that. But anything after that, obviously there's the bye week and then the Chicago game, then we can start taking calls again. It's nothing against anybody, just the schedule. I want to get these shows in without having to be too late because I need the rest. I need the rest. This is like job number 3. You know what I'm saying? Job number 1, 2, 3, or this is my favorite job of the 3, but I just, gotta try to chill. Okay, I'm already spending enough time as I would have been with the calls. So, Minnesota, of course, did not win the game. We all know that. 30-20, Minnesota loses in Seattle. A lot of us kind of saw that coming. Some people saw a win. Predictions are tough to do, and I talked about that on the Facebook page. So we're going to get to the Facebook page and the Twitter account, the interactions on Twitter, and the comments and all that stuff on Facebook. Probably not going to read every single thread or every single comment in every single thread, because sometimes it gets into a long conversation and a lot is said. People sometimes want to write an essay, and it gets to be a little bit too much to be reading that on air. Might seem a little bit dorky if I read the whole thing. I got to probably break it down a little bit. So that's just how it goes. But as always, the model of this show, like I put on the Facebook page, the model of the show is to interact with you guys out there. Yes, I'm going to do my best I can to interact with you guys. Listenership involvement is absolutely the face of Purple Mafia. Or it's at least one of the faces of it. Hopefully a winning team, too. But the face of this show, episode number 125, is going to be Christian Ponder. It's not going to be as much of a quote-unquote game review as it is going to be analyzing Christian Ponder. Now, the one good part about the football game that Malcolm got into is obviously the running back was unbelievable. Adrian Peterson was absolutely amazing. Had 144 yards in the first half and got only 5 carries in the second half. I do believe Malcolm mentions that. We'll get to that again very shortly on the Facebook page. But that just tells you something. I mean, yeah. Obviously the Vikings were down, so they had to get something going. But, well, unfortunately, the quarterback was not getting the job done, ladies and gentlemen. Adrian Peterson had a single run that was longer than Christian Ponder's entire stats for entire yardage for the entire game.
Oh, what the hell? Throw the ball!
Yeah, good job. Good times. Yeah, good times. Thank you so very much. Now, that tells you how great Adrian Peterson is, but it also tells you how horrendous Christian Ponders, that's funny. One of my coworkers calls him Ponders. Yeah, I'm Pondersing too. But, where was I leading here? Christian Ponder was horrendous! And he is horrendous, according to basically everybody right now. What did he get? 63 yards? 63 yards? Or was it even that? That's the million-dollar question, right? Was it even 63, or was it just like an accident that he even got that many? Yeah, 63. 11 of 22. Yeah, we can all say Skull Vikings all we want, but, yeah, we're happy for him. Adrian Peterson had a great game, and as did Blair Walsh, a 55-yarder along the way. Good times. There you go. That was pretty much the highlights of the game right there. Harvin was all right, but unfortunately now he's hurt with an ankle. He's on crutches. We'll get to that again shortly. It's just one of those situations right now where it's unexplained, man, about how bad Ponder is. Other than maybe he just can't play, and that's the only explanation there is. I guess that might end up being the only explanation right now. That's going to be the common thread of the show. It actually was last show for the most part, but this time it's more serious. Yeah, it's just more serious this time. Should Christian Ponder be taken seriously to be long-term quarterback of the future for the Minnesota Vikings? Right now, no. No, Christian Ponder should not be taken seriously to be this long-term starting quarterback of the future for the Minnesota Vikings. No. There's just no reason to believe that. So with that said, we are going to move on to the Facebook page right now, and I'll continue commenting as such along the way. Recent posts by others, right? That's where I got to start here. I mean, that's just the whole idea. Sure, it works. Sure, it's nice, and the thing actually works well, but it's not doing that right now. I don't like the new design of these Facebook pages, man. By the way, just so all of you, just in case all of you care, right? We are going to start with, I don't know. We are going to start with, there it is. Yep, Mark Carlson. Mark Carlson commenting first of all on the previous show, saying great show, Joey Awajan, or Paladino Joey. That's funny how he tends to do. I like this guy, man. I like you, Mark. I enjoyed listening to it. In fact, I looked forward to it. Nope is a perfect title. Great Collins. Super comments. I had a few flashback moments when you were talking about the Vikings quarterbacks after the great one. Tommy Creamer, Wade Wilson, Rich Gannon, etc. Fun, entertaining, and informative listening. I just wish I was on board long ago. Mark from Iowa. You know, that was about that is about as nice a statement as and as nice and detailed a statement as you could say about Purple Mafia, because that's exactly what I try to sell in a lot of ways, is to have a good title to the show. That really paints a picture of how the week was, the previous week was, or maybe whatever, maybe the last month, depending on what the situation is, the time of year. I like to go down memory lane once in a while. Dylan Richardson would tell you that on the few shows I've done with him. Generally Bears related, Vikings and Bears related. You know, obviously memory lane for both teams, or even the whole NFL as a whole. But I like to go down memory lane about this club. That's what this show is overall about. But I also like to get into I like giving you guys a chance to give your comments. I mean, if you can't call in, or you don't feel like calling in, or whatever, because obviously you can't call in like 9 times, so if you comment 9 times, there you go. I mean, they might not all get read, just because if it's like 9 comments, it might get a bit excessive at times. But like 2, 3, 4, 6, whatever, stuff like that. To the point, though, yeah, I mean, that is as good of that is as accurate and friendly a statement about Purple Mafia as you're ever going to get. So, Mark Carlson, yeah, it's gold star time. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you for that, Mark Carlson. I know it's a little bit early for me to be passing out the gold star, but I mean, I when I read that, I was like, I have to give it to him. I have to. If there's another one, maybe I'll pass out a silver star. Yeah, if there's another one out there that I think I'll give my first ever silver star. We'll see. I don't even know what. I got to think of what sound to put in it, right, as I'm getting there. Malcolm McSween, that is, of course, the Malcolm that called in, I believe, was the last show. He says, going to Seattle and handing the Seahawks their first loss at home would be a huge statement for the Vikes. Come on, boys. And, they could have, Malcolm. Boy, that running game was awesome. That running game was so good. And I actually thought the Vikings might win the football game. And I'll state this again. I mentioned, well, I'll get to it later about the whole, we'll get to it when we get to it. Mark Carlson saying, watching at home today, let's play smart, execute, and score. Skull, Mark from Iowa. And yes, apparently Mark is back home and not on a work trip, as we like to call it. Malcolm continuing with another thread saying, AP is looking good. Could have managed the clock better going into the halftime, but oh well. Yeah, the end of halftime was like, really? That's what the really? We didn't get anything? Oh, come on. And it was, and of course, Christian Ponder getting sacked, flushed him out of the pocket, or whatever. I mean, the O-line was about as hot and cold as you're going to get in the same game as I've seen in recent history. I mean, you get all these huge holes. Adrian Peterson gets a bajillion yards. Next thing you know, Christian Ponder's on his back. Okay. So it's like I guess you can add it all together. The pass blocking sucks. The run blocking rocks. Pass sucks. Run rocks. Hey, there you go. I guess the little light bulb went off, huh? No, and of course I'm not trying to be sarcastic or a smart ass at all. No, I mean, it's just kind of like clicking as we speak here, isn't it? It is like that, though. I mean, and it's kind of been the story of this season in a lot of ways. Now, the run blocking hasn't been fantastic the whole year, but it's been better than the pass blocking. And I wish the Vikings could get better at it. But, of course, I'm going to throw this out again one more time. There is a tell on Christian Ponder, ladies and gentlemen. Just like there are tells on other quarterbacks especially, point guards in the NBA. There are tells on whoever has the ball the most. There are going to be tells, especially early on in your career. If the tell is a really big one, you could be dead meat, ladies and gentlemen. Like I'll bring up one more time, and I'll probably leave it as is this time. Now, I am not comparing Christian Ponder to Randy Foye, though he may have about as successful career as Randy Foye in the NBA. I am merely comparing a situation with when there's a tell on a player that is a really big one, it ruined his career. Randy Foye had a tell that all you had to do was make him go left. Now, of course, he was the 7th overall pick in the 2006 NBA draft, traded to the Timberwolves for Brandon Roy, blah, blah, blah. Yep. But no, if you got Randy Foye to go left, that was it. Right? That's a pretty big tell, and that's a pretty big part of basketball is like the whole left by going left. I mean, you either go right or left. So, and in Christian Ponder's case, you flush him out of the pocket, he's virtually useless. And we've seen that time and time again. We saw it in Detroit. We saw it every other game pretty much since. That Detroit game, I think the Detroit Lions kind of caught that tell on Christian Ponder, and teams have thus followed it ever since. And that's where we're at today, ladies and gentlemen. Christian Ponder needs to make the proper adjustments to continue his career. Honest to God. Because if he doesn't, we are going to temporarily see Joe Webb, and long term we might see a Matt Barkley, as Cedric Paulding brings up much later on. Yeah, we might see a Matt Barkley. Granted, I don't know if we're going to be in draft position to take him. We've already won 5 games, believe it or not, this year. 5-4. Oh, Lord of mercy. Let's just continue here. Mark Carlson says, Palladino Joey. Everyone is putting out for the team, everyone but Ponder. Nothing to ponder, quote-unquote. Mark from Iowa. Yep. He's been you can throw on, and I agreed with that statement, but the other thing, though, the missed tackles have been a huge story for the Vikings as well. Now, there are times the defense looks good, and the next thing you know, the same guys are missing tackles. Jasper Brinkley is not a starting linebacker. Breaking news as it happens, Jasper Brinkley is not a starting linebacker.
Oh my God!
That's it. I said it, and that's about all there is to it. He's not. I think you guys probably figured that already anyway. But no, he's not. Aaron Henderson is okay. Chad Greenway is not a superstar. He's an above-average linebacker, but he will never be a superstar. But he's getting paid like he's Brian Urlacher. Oh, wait, he's getting paid even more than Brian Urlacher. Right. Anyhow, we bounce around. Carlson continuing where I was kind of going with that statement, saying, unreal, the weakest link on the team is the leader. Heck, we can block extra points. We can kick a 55-yard field goal. That, of course, Blair Walsh, who is just unbelievable. We can run the ball. We are purple until we are purple in the face, quote unquote. But no way can we pass. I agree, Mr. Palladino. Disappointment, as in Christian Ponder. He is the biggest disappointment during this pretty significant downtrend. Yeah. Malcolm continuing saying, yeah, that was an awesome statement by Mark right there. And actually, that was ultimately why I was going to give him the gold star. So, there you go. It was multiple. That was actually why I was going to give it to him, but we'll combine those two together there. That's why he gets the gold star this week. Just kick-ass commentary by Mr. Carlson. Malcolm McSween continuing saying, ha, true, we can do everything but pass. Sebastian says, or win on the road. Frequently, Sebastian Balls, of course. A celebrity member of Triple Mafia. Oh yeah, he is. He's a big name for this show now, Mr. Sebastian. Yep, he's been around for a while now. He says, well, we all know we don't beat Detroit twice anymore. The funny part is, though, we did beat them in Detroit. That's the funny part. Yep, and Malcolm's continuing that comment, saying, yep, and Detroit is on a roll. It's going to be tough. Yeah. Well, I suppose we did lose at home to Tampa, didn't we? So, yeah, good point, Sebastian and Malcolm there. Yeah, it's going to be hard to pick the Minnesota Vikings to win that game. Even though it's like you got to think, like, here we go, momentum changing game here, because we seem to usually beat Detroit at home, and Detroit was playing poorly, and not anymore. They kind of whooped up on, was it Jacksonville last week? Vikings did not whoop on Jacksonville at the beginning of the season, and at the time, Vikings were a little bit better than they are now. Like, at least Ponder looked halfway. Yeah, Christian Ponder. Like I said, he's the main thread of the show, isn't he? Very much so, the main thread of the show. And Sebastian, this is like gold star worthy right here. It is, absolutely, or silver star, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. Yeah, okay, here's the silver star. My first ever silver star is going to Sebastian Balls for this statement, because there you go. There it is.
Yeah, buddy!
There you go.
And there I go, giving out silver stars before I read this statement. But that's because it's that good. Sebastian says, I'm saying this, but Ponder is worse than Grossman and any other much-hated quarterback ever. Wow. So glad I was working the whole time. Man. Yeah, I know. He really hated... Sebastian. Yeah, he's so mean about that Grossman thing. He says, like I said, but yeah, you got a silver star out of it. You got the very first silver star there, Sebastian. It's a collector's item. It says, like I hated you saying this with a passion, but it's true. Bethel Thompson better beat Ponder as my starter in Madden. Wait a minute. Excuse me. I didn't read that correctly. Like I hated you saying this with a passion, but it's true. Bethel Thompson beat Ponder. Not better beat, that he beat Ponder as a starter in Madden 13. He can in real life, too. Just watch. Wow. Well, I mean, yeah, we kind of continue a common thread there going on and on about Bethel Thompson. Because, yeah, there's a lot of writing there. You know, we got in a long conversation. Would have been kind of cool to have it as a instant message. But no, it's actually good for people to read. We kind of got into, hey, the whole Bethel Thompson thing. Well, it's about time the Vikings got lucky with something. And because also, I think I might have been sitting a little too close to the mic there. I apologize if the audio was a little bit annoying. But Bethel Thompson, of course, undrafted free agent, was at Sacramento State. Who? Okay. Why not St. Louis Park State College while we're at it? No, I'm just kidding. But no, the whole point is there have been quarterbacks that have popped up out of the middle of nowhere. And, well, Joe Webb has had a winning record. 6th round pick. He's won games a lot of people didn't see. Of course, he's about as unorthodox a quarterback as Gray is for the Gophers. Of course, he hasn't been playing for a while anymore with that injury. But no, it looks like a safety trying to play quarterback. No offense or anything. He's more of an athlete than a quarterback. Just his style of play, the way he releases the ball, blah, blah, blah. Josh Freeman is an absolute stud. Great release, great everything, great bullet pass. But as I continue to ramble on a side topic that's related, but side topic, the whole point of this was guys like Brett Favre kind of basically was like a out of nowhere quarterback. We didn't even get to guys like Kurt Warner. Like Kurt frickin' Warner basically came up out of nowhere, blew up, became, I think, a Hall of Fame quarterback. Sebastian continuing saying, don't forget Tom Brady. Yep, that's right. He was a 6th round pick. And he was amazing. Absolutely amazing, Tom Brady. What a career. Legend. Absolute legend. 3-time Super Bowl champion. Should have been 4 or 5, in my opinion. But, you know. And that's not just the New York Super Bowls. That was the one when they probably should have beat the stupid Colts in 2006, but they didn't. But again, I continue to digress like always. Matt Flynn was the other one I mentioned. 7th round pick. I was shocked when he was like, wow, he won the number 2 job in Green Bay. That was pretty remarkable. He beat, I forget the guy that he beat, who was a lot of people thought, wow, 2nd round pick. That's a strong one right there. This guy's a pretty good quarterback. Maybe he could have been a starter somewhere. I forget who it was. And Matt Flynn just flat beat him out of a job, 7th round pick. And then the times that Flynn had to play because of a Rodgers injury was absolutely spectacular, just like Rodgers was spectacular when Favre was hurt. When he had to replace Favre with a injured elbow, I believe it was. Man, it was just amazing. So yeah, Matt Flynn, 7th round pick, blew up, or sort of blew up, and then got a big payday with Seattle, though unfortunately this other guy, Wilson, who was a 3rd round pick, beat him out of a job. So it can happen. It can happen, and it will happen. Maybe, hopefully, with Bethel Thompson, I have no idea. Malcolm jumping in saying, I just hope we don't waste years figuring this quarterback situation out while we still have a talented team in almost every other aspect. Great point, Malcolm. That's my fear, too. Look how much time we wasted on Tavares Jackson. I mean, we wasted a lot of time on that son of a bleep. We really did. 2006, he was still here in 2010, wasn't he? Yeah, he was. Now, he was a backup in 9 and 10, but still, the fact he was even here is ridiculous. And it took Brett bleeping Favre coming in to just say, okay, sit down, Tavares, you're not starting. Because Tavares probably would have been the starter, knowing the way Childress was. Oh, Childress. Oh, can't believe I actually even uttered that name on this show. For a while there, I just kept calling him the former coach. But no, the fact that Tavares Jackson would have been the starting quarterback in 2009 if Favre didn't come in. Yeah, all indications are, how Childress is. Sage would have been the backup, even though Sage probably was a better quarterback than Tavares. But anyhow, yeah. Good comments, Sebastian and Malcolm there. Malcolm with another statement, thread starter here saying, remember when the Vikings were the surprise team this year? Well, surprise, they're surprisingly inconsistent. Yeah, that's for darn sure, Malcolm. It's, yikes, And, of course, Malcolm's from Oakview, California, just to let you guys know. He's not in Minnesota, so that's kind of cool. I got a lot of people from Iowa and from California, Viking fans listening to this show. So, again, shout out to you guys, all you guys in Iowa and California. I appreciate it. I just had another new person from Iowa jump in. Of course, Dave Hickey's from Iowa as well. Yeah, we're going to get to Dave's comment later on. He actually commented about the previous show, but I'm just sticking with the current stuff right now, the recent posts by others. Dan Taylor says, Harvin is on crutches, has an ankle sprain, a long shot to play on Sunday. Oh, boy. And, yep, it never ends, and I was continuing saying that basically, now I'm not comparing this year to 2007, but the situation is utterly similar because, well, it's going to be close but no cigar, I think, that this team is not going to make the playoffs. And of course, everybody's annoyed and pissed off with the quarterback. Yeah, in 2007, it was a second-year quarterback named Tavares Jackson, and everybody was pretty annoyed with the guy. But then again, that was probably his best year as a Viking, was Tavares, honestly. But there were times during that season that everybody wanted to just, break something. Honestly, it was just unbelievable how frustrating he can be. But no, the main point there is about Percy Harvin. Yeah, I mean, he's on crutches. He wants to play. He's thinking he can and will. But I kind of, knowing Percy Harvin, I kind of think somehow, somewhere he's going to find a way to get on that field. But, yeah, being on crutches, man, that's not a good thing, though. That's not a good sign. It must be pretty bad. So I guess we'll just have to hope. I say, if he's not, reasonably healthy, like 70%-ish, don't play him. Just don't. It's not worth killing him. He has a long career ahead of him, honestly. So that's what I say about that. It's going to be very interesting to see how that turns out. Man, I got to see where was it? I want to find where Dave Hickey had a lot to say. This must be it. I believe this is it. Something to say about the previous show. Now I got to dig it up. I apologize to those of you out there. This must be it. Nope. Dog. Oh, yes it is. Yes it is. Good. Because this was a kind of a controversial post by Dave Hickey. It kind of surprised me a little bit, and you can tell by my reaction after it that it surprised me a little bit. I don't want to say I was annoyed by it, but I was taken back a bit. now I've had enough time to kind of like quote unquote get over it, we'll say. And of course, I'm not mad at him. I'm not mad at you, Dave. I'm not mad, but it's just like a little. I didn't necessarily like everything that was said here. I don't think it's completely true, honestly. And Dave did not respond to it, unfortunately. I don't know if he just figured either maybe he was just starting to listen to the show and then maybe kind of caught on. Maybe that wasn't where I was leading. Or who knows? Maybe, Dave, if you could respond to me at some point about it, that would be nice. But if you want to just move on, that's up to you. Well, here it goes. This is the climax of the show, I guess. No, not necessarily. The climax of the show is Christian Ponder. Okay, because it's not about me or my show. It's about the team and the quarterback position. So Dave says, Joey, I was listening to the show, and I'm a huge Viking fan, but when you said everybody thought this was a sure win, of course, that being the Tampa Bay game, I had to laugh. There are no sure wins for the Vikings. You did the same thing for the Redskins game. See, that's what kind of got me a little bit. He says, I'm in a pool at work. I pick every game every week. Out of 20 people, I'm the only Vike fan, and I'm only one who took Tampa Bay. I'd like to be a true homer, but I'm in it to win it. The reason the Vikings don't play worth a crap in prime time without the first version of Moss or Favre and never play well against Tampa. Believe it or not, I'm going to pick the Vikes to beat the Seahawks. They have 10 days to prepare, and I have a feeling. Keep up the good work, and I'll keep listening. Just please stop counting wins before they happen. It's just, really, really, I don't know if there's some type of misunderstanding here, and maybe that's why you didn't respond, but did I really count a win before it happened? And no, I didn't, really, and by the way, I was mentioning that on there, maybe though a lot of people saw it by now, where, yeah, I've never counted a win before it happens. I'm not really sure where Dave got this feeling that I was like, whoa, we're going to beat Washington. Did I really say that? Or did I just give my honest prediction of the game? I mean, that's partially why I'm not really sure I want to even give predictions anymore, because it's like, it's not because I'm afraid of being wrong. It's because it's like, if I pick the Vikings to win a game and they don't, it's like, oh, you thought they were going to win. Well, nope. You're stupid, and it's like, really? You're a homer, I am not a homer. I am absolutely not a homer. At all. I picked the Vikings to lose in Seattle. I picked the Vikings to get killed, utterly obliterated by San Francisco. And I don't know. It's okay to be optimistic sometimes. The only reason I honestly was not all that confident going in the Washington game, other than I kind of had a good feeling about the way Ponder was playing, and the Redskins' secondary includes the likes of Medeo Williams and Cedric Griffin, which are absolutely horrible, so I thought the Vikings' passing game would be pretty successful in that game. Funny, it wasn't even close to successful. It was an absolute bleeping mess. He got a lot of yards, but he turned the ball over a lot, including a pick six to Medeo, and of course, what's his name, RG3 ran on the Vikings like there was nobody on the field. Like he was just going for a 50-yard dash. 77-yard dash to be exact. So, I don't know. Again, I'm not mad at you, Dave, but I was just a bit taken back. Just reading it again kind of brought that feeling back a little bit, as you could kind of tell. Really, though, I am not a homer. It's just, and again, it's like I said on here, on the page, but I'll say it here right now also. I apologize if I sounded too defensive, too sensitive, or anything like that. But this goes against the very foundation of the Purple Mafia show, because being a homer and picking wins before they happen has never been what I'm trying to sell. Never. It has never been what I'm trying to sell. Going way back to my videos my first year of, which was Palladino Live back in 2007, but that's why I keep bringing up that year sometimes, because I covered the team like a glove that year on YouTube. It's called Palladino Live. They're still all up there if you guys are curious just to see what I was like back then. That doesn't sound like a homer then, and I still don't sound like a homer now. In fact, I often got ripped for being too negative on the Vikings. And not even necessarily being too negative, but not being more of a quote-unquote homer. I often got ripped by a guy by the name of, I don't know if he's still a listener. Let's just say we had our brouhahas quite a few times around 2008, 2009. A guy by the name of, why am I forgetting his name all of a sudden? He was a well-known guy on thesportstuff.com. His name on there was Mavs fan. I believe it's Darren Conway, Darren Conway. He turned out to be a pretty nice guy, but boy, we had some unbelievable brouhahas at times. Because he basically thought my show should be a certain way, and I kind of was like, well, I don't know, I'd maybe have a slight disagreement with him, and then he'd get mad and blah, blah, blah. It was kind of crazy, but just saying, it was mostly about he thought I should be more of like a more rah-rah, go Vikings type of guy, when that's not what Purple Mafia is all about. So, I'll say this one last time. I'm not mad at you, Dave, but, I'm not mad at you, and you have a right to your opinion, but I don't know. I've said my piece, you said your piece, and on we go. And thank you again for your continued listenership, Dave. It is greatly appreciated. Just like every single one of you guys, it is greatly appreciated. Absolutely. Thanks again, all of you out there. So that's the Facebook page. By the way, facebook.com/Purple Mafia Show. Facebook.com/Purple Mafia Show. Go to that page and click like. That's right, click like. Do appreciate Shonda Carlson. Mark Carlson? Related somehow? Interesting, but also from Iowa. And yeah, that helps more. That gives you, might be related to Mark Carlson, huh? So, apologize if I didn't dig and do more research on that while doing the show, but no, it's because I'm live right now, or not, because I'm doing it right here on the spot. But that's more reason for another gold star, bringing some people in. Thanks again for that, Mark. And, of course, Dave Hickey as well. Thanks again for your honesty, Dave. You know what? Thank you for your honesty. Even though if I might not agree with it or it might not be what I want to hear, you know what? Hey, sometimes the most critical statements, not that I think he's even trying to be critical necessarily, but sometimes the most critical statements can be very helpful. Sometimes the show isn't perfect. Sometimes the show isn't good, a 4 or 5 star show on iTunes. Sometimes it is 3, or 2. I hope not 2, and sure as hell not 1. No way. This is not a 1-star show. Sorry. But I'm open to the possibility of 3, 4, and maybe I hope not 2. No, I'm not even going to say that. It's not a 2. But I'm open to the possibility that not everything about the show might be 100% A to your liking, and B, it might just flat be an area that needs improvement. So, again, appreciate that, Dave. So, yeah. Dave does continue later on here in a different, there we go, the different thread here where I was talking about, I'm honestly thinking of not making predictions anymore because it's a joke. No matter what the team's tendency are over the course of several weeks, over the course of several weeks, it could be every single week, meaning like the same thing happening, excuse me for this racket, shame on me, but the same thing happening over and over and over again, like 13 points, 19 points like Seattle, and then all of a sudden, bam, they start looking like the 80s Niners practically out there, and just like Tampa Bay too, it's just like, come on, what the hell? Every single week, it seems like it completely vanishes whenever I make any type of prediction. Like, this is going to be a stingy, kind of grinded-out type of game. Adrian Peterson versus Marshawn Lynch. Well, it kind of was like that because they both got over 100 yards. But Wilson blew up. He just absolutely blew up, and Seattle looked great. And a prediction that I made was dead on. Sidney Rice got on the end zone. He did. Oh, my God.
Oh my God!
Yep, Sidney Rice got in the end zone. Wasn't that just great? No, it wasn't. That was total bull. Oh, yes, it was. Janine saying, Janine Dites saying, just think, Joey, how dull life would be if you always knew everything that was going to happen each week. You'd be a very wealthy but bored man. Hey, I mean, I understand, Janine. Just saying that it's these predictions are a joke sometimes, or it seems like no matter how hard I try to figure out the tendencies of the teams, learn where the game should be headed, what type of game it's going to be, it ends up being a complete wash, completely different. Like, we're going to pass the heck out of the ball. It's going to be a really high-scoring game against Indianapolis. It wasn't high-scoring at all. You know, it's just so on and so forth. It was like Seattle. Not this Seattle, but earlier in the year Seattle. Yeah, against Green Bay or something, 12-7. Justin Day, that of course Justin in Rochester on Twitter, very cool guy, says, hey Joey, and he was the gold star guy last week. Hey Joey, I missed this week's show. Give me the Cliff Notes version of your prediction so I have context on this. Yeah, I said it was going to be kind of a slow pace, kind of grinded out type of game, and Seattle would win 17-13. Justin continuing saying, I predicted that despite getting spanked at home, the Vikings would somehow be in the game and find a way to lose it, which was basically true. Not ready to cut Ponder, but Musgrave called a good game in the first half, but the quarterback was awful. Second half, to only give AP the ball 5 bleeping times. No, I just added in the bleeping myself because it's unbelievable. He said it makes no sense. That said, Ponder had guys open and threw McNabb-like bounces at times. Yeah, terrible bounce passes, that is. Can't defend him anymore. Not saying put Joe Webb in, as he is not the answer either. But I no longer have an expectation that Ponder will develop into much of anything. And that's about I mean, these comments are so good, guys, you know, and Justin right there especially. I mean, man, you know, you guys are so good. I have the best listeners in the world. Honestly, I do. You know, and Dave has a great statement coming up, as does Cedric here. Cedric usually posts about 1 or 2 here and there, but they're always so good. You know, Cedric, of course, he's from Mississippi, so it's like look at the geographics of Purple Mafia. It's just awesome, man. You got Australia, California, Scotland. I remember Jamie Gracie. Well, yep, hopefully you're still listening out there. You got a guy in Wales. I remember he mentioned me on Twitter a while back. He's listening in Wales. You got UK, of course. Dan Taylor, Matt Eamer. Oh, man, it's just awesome. Who knows? Maybe there's even other places. Australia, I already mentioned. It's so cool. California, Iowa. There's more. There's more states that I'm missing. I think there's New York. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. It just goes on and on. It's so cool. But, yeah, Cedric saying, it's painful to watch Ponder keep regressing every week. 63 yards passing was unacceptable. Ain't that the truth? Unacceptable. Beyond unacceptable. You know, a 63 yards rushing would be considered kind of an average game. You know, like, it's okay, but it's like, he's a mediocre running back. But 63 yards passing is like, really? It's go for football standards, man. Oh, boy, I just said something really naughty there, didn't I? Yeah, but it is. It's go for football, man, level. Horrendous. Dave Hickey. And no, don't be afraid to post it, Dave. I'm not, like I said, I'm not pissed off at you or anything. I just was a bit surprised, that's all. Maybe I'm just kind of a wuss. Yeah, he says, I don't see the Vikings winning anymore. Ponder sucks. Just plain and simple. Yeah? Yep. I can't disagree with either one of you guys. I don't think he is the long-term solution to quarterback. No, I don't. Does he have a right to change that? Yeah, but like previous quarterbacks, there have been a lot of guys like that. Not comparing him to Rex Grossman, but the situation similar, where they stuck with him too long. Yeah, they somehow made the Super Bowl with him, but but it was like a Trent Dilfer Super Bowl, where it wasn't because the quarterback was good, it's because he wasn't as horrendous as he could have been in previous years, and because the defense was the bomb for the Bears. Yep. So the Vikings defense needs to be the bomb, and as does the running game if this team is going to get to the Super Bowl with Christian Bleepin Ponder as the quarterback. Or Joe Webb. Cedric Paulding says Matt Barkley. Uh-huh. Yeah, man, I'm telling you. Matt Barkley. Wouldn't that be cool? Though I am not sure if the Vikings are going to be in that position to take a guy of Matt Barkley's stature. I don't know, via the draft. Boy, oh boy, it's a busy, busy place here. Yeah, it was a bit quieter this week, but that's okay. Or, yeah, I mean, I was quieter because I was, let's just say I was extremely busy during the game, but still keeping track of it as much as possible, and then was able to watch more video that I needed to make my statements that I had to say. I had to do a lot of work this weekend, unfortunately, especially Saturday. Dan Taylor saying, apart from AP and Harvin, they're all terrible. What happened to the team the first 4 weeks? Yeah, that's the question that we'd all absolutely like to know. Absolutely. It's a couple of statements by Jake Severinsen. I don't think I read them on the previous show he followed recently. Not sure if he's a listener. I hope so. He says, weren't we supposed to have those 2 tight ends in our offense? What's their names again? Be nice to have Shank back. Not really. Of course, that's John Carlson and what's the other guy? Yep, Kyle Rudolph. Severinsen again says it all started in the Washington game. We keep settling for field goals, and since then, very rapid offensive decline. Sucks to see. He continues one more time, saying, just what a buzzkill. But that's what we kind of love about them too, in a hateful kind of way, just being a Viking fan. Yep. In a way, yeah. Melissa. Now this gets a little bit vulgar. Suffice to say, Melissa is sick of Christian Ponder anyway. She says, I never liked Ponder from the start. He is terrible under pressure and can't complete a bleeping pass. Of course, fill in the blank because she wrote it out. That interception was garbage. Oh, and another thing is someone teach Ponder how to slide for bleep's sake. That's what the FFS means, I'm sure. I could pretty much piece that together. This person named Ian Groteman, I don't know where he came from, if he follows me. I don't think he does. I don't know how he even came to me, but whatever, right? He said, please retweet, and here is my resignation as a fan. Longtime Viking fan, 27 years. He wrote some big, gigantic essay about quitting being a... Yeah, okay. No disrespect, but at the same time, I think that's taking yourself a little more seriously than you need to. No offense, but yeah. And he's not following me anyway, so I'm sure he's not listening. But yeah, don't take yourself too seriously. That's the number one thing. I love sports. I love the Vikings, but you know what, ladies and gentlemen? The sun did come up. The sun will rise again tomorrow. It will. And sports as my sports are my number one hobby, my number one passion. Not just hobby, but passion. But again, the sun will rise tomorrow if the team sucks. Honestly. Eventually, someday, I'm believing that this team will win a Super Bowl. Someday. I mean, look at the Saints. Did anybody ever think they'd win a Super Bowl? And again, sorry for salting that wound. I didn't intend to. But it's just sometimes it does happen where teams finally win. The Red Sox finally won a World Series, blah, 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 blah. Post Babe Ruth. So we'll conclude the game review. We'll briefly talk the Detroit Lions visit to Mall of America Field, and we'll call it a day. We'll be right back right after this.
Let's win this game. Skol Vikings, honor your name. Go get that first down, then get a touchdown. Rock 'em, sock 'em, fight, 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 fight. Go Vikings, run up the score. You'll hear us yell for more. Vikings, Skol Vikings, let's go. let's win this game. Skol Vikings, honor your name. Go get that first down, then get a touchdown. Rock 'em, sock 'em, fight, 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 fight. Go Vikings, run up the score. You'll hear us yell for more. V-I-K-I-N-G-S. Skol Vikings, let's go!
And we are back here on Purple Mafia, episode number 125 of the aforementioned Purple Mafia. Thank you once again for joining the show. Thank you again, always. As mentioned, episode number 125, which is a reminder for all iPod users and Android users and other MP3 players. Remember, those of you out there, Android users, maybe you're new to the show, and maybe you're listening on your computer because you don't have an iPod, but you happen to have an Android phone or device. Simply go to what you know as the Google Store or Google Play or whatever, the place where you get the application. Go into the search bar, type in Double Twist. That is the application you need, which is an absolute mirror of iTunes. You can get anything on Double Twist that you could get on iTunes, like the Purple Mafia Show. All you have to do then is click on the podcast button, type in Purple Mafia Show, or Purple Mafia, and listen. Don't forget to check out Timberwolves Explosion as well, which is my other show, of course, very, very fun. Sebastian Balls did call into that one, so this is a shout out to you, Sebastian, and I do appreciate that. That show needs some callers. Timberwolves fans, don't be shy to call into that show. But, again, I'm going to ask you to hold off on the calls for this show, because this is a long show, and I tend to record on Monday nights, and my schedule's kind of needs to chill. So just hold off on the calls for the next show. That's it. And then after that, back to normal. So that's just a quick announcement. So yep, not taking calls for episode number 126. Again, not a complaint at any of you, but once it's the Bears week, call in all you want. Those of you out there, the Sebastians, the Anthonys, the Brent Jacobsons, Malcolm, all of you guys, whoever it is. You don't all have to call, but whoever calls, you're welcome to call. So, yeah, I miss you, Anthony from LA, this week. Hope all is well for you. I hope I didn't scare you away, or I'm sure the team maybe did. Same, Sebastian. But, again, actually, you guys kind of did me a favor this week by not calling because of schedule. Yeah, and I got to get up uber early tomorrow. Yeah, it's just one of those things. Well, the Detroit football team arrives Mall of America Field. If history would tell you, Minnesota virtually always beats Detroit, except in 1997 and in 2011. The Vikings had, was it a 20-point lead, or was it a 23-point lead in that game? Last year, the Vikings had some historic collapses against the Tampa Bay Bucks and Detroit Lions. Tampa Bay always beats Minnesota. And, yeah, I agree with... that's the other thing I agreed with Dave Hickey, by the way. I said that on the show. Tampa Bay always beats the Vikings, as does Washington. I said that on the show. But maybe I picked the... Yeah, okay, you get the idea. Anyhow, leave that where it was. Detroit Lions were not playing very well for a while, but now they've won their last 2 weeks. They beat Seattle fairly impressively at home, 28-24. That is the most points the Seattle Seahawks gave up this year, actually. Yes, it is. That is the new record. Seattle Seahawks gave up 28 points against the Detroit Lions. That was a pretty good win. Seattle 5-4 at the time. Yeah, or actually they're 5-4 now, excuse me. They were 4-4 at the time. Matthew Stafford was able to pass against that pretty stingy defense for almost 400 yards, 3 touchdowns. Outstanding effort by Matthew Stafford, who actually was doing really terrible for a while. His yardage is all the way up to about 2,400 almost. He's, believe it or not, averaging about 300 yards a game, only 8 touchdown passes. So when you consider that he threw 3 in that Seattle game, it's pretty remarkable. Only 5 touchdown passes the rest of the year. Wow, so he's definitely picking it up at the right time, at least. For the most part, anyway. Did not look good against the Minnesota Vikings last time in Detroit, though the Detroit Lions front line looked like the steel curtain against Christian Ponder in a big way. I mean, it's really hard to gauge what Detroit can do against Jacksonville because Jacksonville sucks. No disrespect to Jaguars fans or even to the Jaguars themselves, but, no disrespect, yet at the same time, they're a junk team, man. They're a junk team. So, when Green Bay or Detroit, whoever beats up on them, it's just like, whatever. I'm just glad we weren't their only win. How devastating would that have been? And we pretty much should have been, if not for a miracle finish by the Vikings in that football game in the Dome way back in Week 1. But I digress back to the topic at hand with the Detroit Lions. I love saying that. Can't you tell? Boy. Matthew Stafford was not good against the Vikings last time around, but he has absolutely picked it up of late. Of late. Did virtually nothing against him against the Chicago Bears, though. So I guess he kind of had a tune-up the past 2 weeks. It's the Seattle game that intrigues me, that he did as well as he did against Seattle. I mean, really? He threw for almost 400 yards, got 3 touchdowns, did get an interception. But still, man, that is really good against Seattle. Really good. Adrian Peterson, that was his first game this season where it looked like, ooh, he's starting to look healthier now. He's starting to really pick it up. Christian Ponder threw for 111 yards in the game, no touchdowns, no interceptions. So he was like, nah. But at this, he completed 61.5% of his passes, or we'll just say 62%. But almost all of them were he got flushed out of the pocket and he threw like a 3-yard, like, oh, type of pass. Like, thank God we got something out of it. And that's basically what that whole game was. I mean, the longest reception of the whole game was that nice little floater he threw to Jerome Simpson, which ended up being the dagger of the game. A very clutch first down that ended up burning the clock. Very cool. Do I expect to see anything similar in this coming game? Yes, I do expect to see similarities. I do expect to see Adrian Peterson to have a very strong triple-digit type of game on the ground. He is now the Vikings' all-time leader in that category, by the way, with 31. That is amazing. I believe he has 800-yard first half games already, which is just a legendary career for Adrian Peterson. Best running back in Vikings history, no doubt. But yeah, that's where that's where I'm going to see. We're going to see similarities. Adrian Peterson is going to do well against the Detroit Lions run defense, which is good, but Adrian Peterson can do well against them. Christian Ponder, I expect to see similarities again. He is going to struggle. Oh, yeah. He is going to struggle mightily against this front line of Detroit, which doesn't get a lot of sacks, but boy, oh boy, do they get a lot of hurries. They put pressure on Christian Ponder last time around like it was no tomorrow. So here's my prediction, folks. With this coming in, Christian Ponder is going to throw for 400 yards and 5 touchdowns because you know what? Because that's the way my predictions have gone. The tendencies of the teams always seem to change. No, okay, I'm not going to do that. There's no reason for me to believe Christian Ponder is going to play well in this game. And if he does, you know what? Screw it. He played well in the game. We're happy for him. Do it again against Chicago when the games really matter. Now, yes, this game absolutely matters. It's a must-win for the Minnesota Vikings to make the postseason, or to be in the hunt for the postseason. This is a must-win game for both teams here. The loser of this game, their season is over. That's a prediction. That's a very safe prediction. Unless, of course, they're the next New York Giants of 2007 or 2011, where they just blow up and go all the way for no apparent reason other than like it's just a flat-out miracle. Well, it's not going to happen with either of these teams. No. It's not. But so I think it's a safe prediction at this time. And again, if I'm wrong, whatever. Miracles happen. You can't predict a miracle. You can't. You cannot predict a miracle. You just cannot do it. You would get lucky, basically. Like, no, they're going all the way. I'm not going there. Vikings' run defense was phenomenal against Detroit last time. I expect Michael Leshieu to have a better game this time around. He was terrible last time, but again, I think he will be a little bit better. Matthew Stafford, obviously, I think he is going to have a very good game. I think Matthew Stafford is going to throw for over 300 yards, unfortunately. I think the Vikings will pressure him. They will pressure Stafford. He will be on his back a decent amount in this game, but he's going to get his share of yardage. He is, because the Vikings secondary has struggled of late. The Vikings linebackers have been terrible of late. Terrible. Yeah, as long as these Detroit Lion receivers and tight ends like Pettigrew and, of course, Calvin Johnson, Mr. Megatron himself, as long as they catch and hold on to the passes this time rather than drop them, Detroit's going to win the football game. Oh, I hate saying it. But yeah, Detroit will win the game if they hang on to the passes. If. If. That's the question. Because Calvin Johnson struggled this year. But there's so many weapons on the Detroit Lions offense that I think it's going to be enough to defeat the Vikings. I think Christian Ponder is not good enough to defeat the Detroit Lions. Adrian Peterson is good enough, but you need Christian Ponder, who is the quarterback, the man with the ball, to be successful in order to win, most of the time. In order to consistently win, you need to get some type of passing game. There is no reason to believe that this passing game is suddenly going to right itself, especially if its most dangerous and most consistent weapon is crutch bound right now, and that being Percy Harvin. I cannot pick the Vikings to win the football game. I'm afraid to pick a score, but for the sake of being accurate, or for the sake of entertainment, we'll say, having a show, a legitimate sports show, Detroit is going to win the football game 28-20. 28-20. So that's 2 touchdowns, 2 field goals for the Minnesota Vikings, at least one of them for Adrian Peterson, maybe a defensive touchdown, maybe Christian Ponder gets one to Kyle Rudolph or something, somehow, or he runs it in himself, or Adrian gets both of them. But we'll get 2 field goals as well from Blair Walsh. Yep. So 28-20, Detroit wins the football game and remains in the hunt, and the Minnesota Vikings will be all but eliminated from the postseason in a loss to the Vikings, or the Lions. Yeah, the Lions. And then off to bye week they go, and then it's Green Bay, Chicago for the fight of their life. So even if the Vikings beat Detroit, the true test begins in the coming weeks. And that will be really fun. If the Vikings do beat Detroit, and for whatever reason they right the ship somehow, and they start playing hot football again, that'd be great. I mean, heck, Matthew Stafford picked it up at one point. We'll see if he can do it again. And by the way, Stafford did throw for over 300 yards in the Vikings in the last game against the Vikings, but no touchdowns because guys dropped them. The Staffords, the Titus Youngs, Nate Burleson, just did not get the job done. They just didn't. Burleson was okay in the game, but not spectacular. Pettigrew caught a lot of passes, but did not get a touchdown, and he dropped some key ones, as did, of course, Calvin Johnson, as I mentioned 17 bajillion times. So again, as long as they can hang on to the football, Detroit will win the game. If they don't, well, all bets are off at that point. Anything can happen then. I'm not picking a Vikings victory this week. Sorry. I cannot do it. And again, that proves more that I'm not a homer. And it should have proven it in previous weeks as well. Previous years. This is my 5th year doing Purple Mafia. 6th year covering the Vikings. First, of course, mentioned on YouTube. And by the way, I, for some reason, did not mention the Twitter account in the previous segment. I did do all the interactions, but I didn't actually mention how to get there. At Purple Mafia Show. There you go. Give that a follow. At Purple Mafia Show. So there you go. Facebook.com/Purple Mafia Show. Don't forget to check out thesportstuff.com. That's right, thesportstuff.com. That is a great website. Do check out the other shows on there, including Timberwolves Explosion, Brave the Wild, Without a Curse, and the Crossover. Shows like that. The phone line is, now again, no calls for the Detroit game. I'm sorry again, guys. I do apologize for that. But for the Chicago game, 209-736-7877. 209-736-7877. When you do call, it is a voicemail. Do treat it as such. Mention what show you're calling into, which is, of course, the Purple Mafia Show. And there you go. Statement, shout-out, question, comment, whatever it is. Bada bing, bada boom. You're on the air. Fantastic. Thanks again for listening, guys. And I hope the Vikings can win the game, but I can't pick it. So, do take care, everybody. We'll be back sooner rather than later.